We're starting off June with a mailbag. We're back with a mailbag coming in from Instagram at Just Baseball Show and on our Twitter at Just BB Media. Thank you guys for leaving all the questions. We got 9 big ones ready to go. Just give us a quick synopsis on your Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody else had a great Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it looked like you got some nice sun. You looked like you were taking it in. Took the day off from the picks, poured a nasty coffee. I got a kick out of that.
I had no idea about vanilla. Had no idea. I was like,
that stuff. It's
gross.
potent. It's potent. But I was traveling all day Monday coming back. So the literal Memorial Day didn't enjoy that much. Driving back from Pensacola because my flight got delayed. But the weekend was awesome. You know, got to go see my good friend Griffin Conine homer twice over in Pensacola for the Marlins AA affiliate. Had some awesome interviews that are out on the call up now with Sal Frelick and Joey Weimer, 2 top 100 guys, both the top prospects for the Brewers. Both were so cool. It was a ton of fun. I know we were teasing that earlier. So that is out now to check out Frelick and Weimer. And I'll be publishing my thoughts soon on all of the prospect write-ups through AA, which was really cool. So yeah, I had a blast. And I hope everybody listening had a great Memorial Day weekend as well.
And you guys did a live stream on the Loop app, which was awesome. And you got to hear them talk about their cards too. That was really cool because you never really see these players, you know, do they want their one-of-ones? I mean, we just see Jordan Lawler, the great shortstop prospect for the Diamondbacks. He really wants his one-of-one. So to hear them talk about it was awesome. And we're going to talk about Loop again in the middle of this episode, some of their best pulls, because the Loop app is just so much fun. And the fact that we could do live streams on it too just opens it up. Jazz Chisholm was in the live to see his friends with the Miami Marlins, as well as joining the Loop app because he's a big fan of baseball cards, because who isn't these days?
And of course, I think if anyone's going to collect themselves, it's Jazz freaking Chisholm, right? He's going to have a full collection of himself. And I mean that in the most endearing way possible.
Driving up eBay prices too, just on his own card. And he'd be like, "Oh well, if I bought one because I want it to be a really expensive card." That seems like Jazz.
100%. That's the most Jazz thing ever. But yeah, it was a blast. We'll talk a little bit more about like how that whole live stream went and some of the things we talked about in the Loop segment. But that was super cool with Griffin Conine and Zach McCambly, 2 prospects in the Marlins system. And I love how many questions we're getting in, dude. Like now we used to have to field the questions. You know, I remember it was like we were retweeting it, like repushing it, like last call. Now we post it and people fire off. So if we didn't get to your questions, we'll be sure to try to get to it next time. And thank you so much to everybody who's been firing all these amazing cues, because it makes it really fun for us. And it's so cool to see all these different questions, you know, flying in.
Yeah, we just have to thank all of you because you're the reason we do this every day. We love talking baseball 5 days a week on the Just Baseball Show. And if you are enjoying, if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and leave a comment down below after we get done with these questions. But one last thing before we get to the questions is, you know how Logan Paul, he wore like a necklace with the Charizard Pokemon card. I could see in a couple of years, like Jazz wearing a chain with his one-of-one, like running
playing
down
with his own one-of-one.
Did you see that just under his jersey? He just takes it out. He's like, this card's worth about $1 billion.
I just homered. It's worth like $10 more now. That is actually crazy. If anybody would do it, it's Jazz. And guess what? I think the baseball card around his neck would actually weigh less than his chains right now.
That's what I'm saying.
He has the biggest chains I've ever seen. They're awesome.
That's what I'm saying. It would literally be lighter. And if he really is that good, make sure your card is worth more than your chain. That's a flex.
That's a flex.
That's a flex. And he would appreciate that. That's why he was on the Loop app. So, yes. Let's get into it because we have 2 negative questions off the bat.
Yeah,
we do. We have two questions. And I just thought they were hilarious because I'm like, you know, normally we're like, who are the 5 best pitchers in baseball, or who's some underrated guys, or who are some prospects that we think are going to break out? But the first 2 questions are just straight up negative. But I'm kind of down to start off on a negative foot. If you are,
you know what? Let's change it up. And also the funny thing is, it's like a backhanded compliment. Both of these questions that like they're just somewhat a good thing, but kind of a bad thing. It's like, who's the worst of the best? So I like the questions. They're kind of funny. And I think they'll stir up some interesting conversation. So let's do it.
So here's the first one. Who is the worst ace in baseball? Asked by D Hills on Twitter. And before you give me an answer, Arm, because I know you got some in the pipe. This is an interesting, because is it the worst ace right now? Or is it the ace of the team moving forward? Who do we believe is the actual worst ace? Because, and ace is very interesting because, for example, Sandy or Pablo would never fall into this ever, but who's the ace there?
Yeah.
Like that's the interesting part because there are multiple pitchers. You go to the Royals, for example, they got Ben Keller, who's pitching well. Will he continue to pitch well? Probably not. But then you have Brady Singer Lynch. Who's the ace?
Yeah. Who'd you rather have moving forward? Yeah, I think
that's what I'm saying. And I can give you my answer, but I feel like we're going to come to the same conclusion because we talked about this pre-recording. It's there seems like a clear answer, but maybe you gamed out someone else.
So I know we're both on like Jose Quintana right now, right? Because here's the thing though. If it's at this present moment, there's a lot of pitchers that are not pitching as well as Jose Quintana. So I want to first on a positive note, the fact that we're even referring to Jose Quintana as the ace of the Pirates, I don't even think we would have bet on that. I would have thought that even Brubaker would be better than him. And I was not very high on him. I think we would have bet on Mitch Keller being better than him. And so far, I mean, Quintana's pitched 46 innings, a 2.15 ERA, a 3.22 FIP. So even if you said like, oh yeah, he's a little lucky out of the gate, a 3.22 FIP is more than good for Jose Quintana after what he's done. So moving forward, I think of all of the best pitchers on their respective teams, I think I'd want Jose Quintana the least. But he's turning himself into a nice little trade chip for the Pirates. And I think a team would be more than happy if he continues to do this to go get a left-handed pitcher that can eat some innings for them in the back end of the rotation.
And I think if we're answering the question right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, my brain went to John Gray on the Rangers because I feel like John Gray was supposed to really take hold of that ace, coming over from Colorado, and he's dealt with injuries, so it's not really fair. But if we're talking just right now, because I don't think that this will continue, I do think that he's going to get better. But if we're just looking at right now, who is the worst prototypical ace on a team? Because I think John Gray's been worse than like a Bruce Zimmerman has, who might be the ace of the Orioles.
He's been worse than Martin Perez on his own team.
That's what I'm saying. Guy. And he's supposed to be the ace. So that's why that's the first thought that came to my mind. Who is an ace right now? The first thought that comes to your head, who you knew was just not performing that well right now?
It's a good question. I mean, even like, what's interesting is I feel like the teams that have the quote unquote like struggling ace, another player came up and really took over.
That's why it's such a hard question, because what's an ace?
Would you expect Miles Michaelis to be the ace of the Cardinals? Like he's arguably been their best arm. So, and I look at the Rangers, is Martin Perez their ace? So it's interesting. What I will say is that it shows you that if you don't have that lights out guaranteed ace at the beginning of the year, they can get leapfrogged pretty quickly. My final answer, though, will probably be Brad Keller, just because he's striking out I think he's striking out like 6 per 9 right now. What ace strikes out 6 or 7 per 9? I don't think he's going to keep it up for the Royals. And unfortunately, there's no one else really even there with him other than Daniel Lynch, who's shown flashes. But I would probably go with Keller as the best pitcher on his team right now.
I think you're right. That's where I'd go. The only thing I didn't say Keller is because I don't actually know who's the ace of the Royals. I couldn't even give you an answer. Sometimes Lynch looks like it, but then sometimes he doesn't. Like right now we're recording during the Guardians versus the Royals game, and Daniel Lynch gave up 3 first-inning runs. Brady Singer looked great in his last start, but moving forward, he's a 2-pitch guy. I do like Brady Singer. I believe in him, but I mean, to your point,
he teases you. I think Brady Singer can still be good. I mean, he's only 25. So, and again, like moving forward, I think he can be really solid. But even then, any of those 3 guys, I don't think are your best ace in the world. Brad Keller is striking out 14% of batters, to give you the exact figure here. So, not fantastic. So that's probably the answer for this question.
And keeping on the negative wave, I guess this question is just hilarious because I really couldn't come to a conclusion because of the teams with winning records, they're all entertaining. So the question is, which team with a winning record is the least entertaining in baseball? Asked by Boom or Bust 08 on Twitter. And I'm going to quickly ask for you to pull up the MLB standings so we can get a full list. But I have my answer. So while you're pulling that up, I went with the Brewers,
okay,
but I don't actually believe that because I love watching the Brewers pitching. But that's the thing. The offense isn't incredible. When Yelich isn't hitting, sometimes it's hard to find a ton of fun there.
Yeah.
Unless you love pitching, which I do. So I don't really think that. But at least right now, that's my least entertaining, I guess, because I'll always believe in the Giants. And I think the way that the Giants can beat teams with lesser players is incredible to watch. So the Brewers, I guess, would be my pick, but I hate picking them because I love watching them.
And I'll be honest, like this sounds really dumb, but ballpark matters a little bit too. So like I love watching the Giants play in San Francisco. That stadium is beautiful. It just facilitates more inside the Parkers than anybody. Like I always enjoy a game with John Miller on the call and just watching San Francisco. The Rays, they're like, I love, obviously Wander Franco is one of the most exciting young players in the game, but he's not fully clicking on all cylinders. When Shane McClanahan's pitching, I love it. But a lot of times it's like some random dude, they piece it together with a bullpen and their offense. I mean, like, are you excited to see Manny Margot? He's playing out of his mind, but there's no way I'm like, oh, yo, guys, like, Peter, can you hold that thought for a sec? I need to watch Manny Margot hit real quick. Like, no shot am I doing that. So, and then the stadium factor, the Trop just pisses me off. So I love Rays fans. I love the Rays as an org, obviously. I just don't think they're the most exciting team to watch in the world unless they're playing the Yankees. Then I'm in.
When you know what? I want to change my answer to the Rays because you're totally spot on there. Totally spot on. I disrespected the Brewers. I didn't want to. And the only reason I did so was just because of the offense. And that's the only reason. But I love watching them. So the Rays are the reason. I watch the Rays so often, face the Yankees, face the Red Sox, face the Blue Jays. So all those games are normally good. And the Rays have this weird thing. They will play to their competition. Mm-hmm. If the Rays are facing Alek Manoah, they're facing Kevin Gausman, they're facing Garrett Cole, they're facing Chris Sale, they're facing any elite pitcher, they will beat them. But then you have the Rays face, I don't know, what's a good example? Like the Matthew Boyd on the Giants, or like just like that's even a bad example, but just a nobody or a rookie. They play down to their level. That's been the problem with the Rays. So if you catch the Rays on a midweek game against the Rangers in Glen Otto, they might lose. Like that's what the Rays do. But then you catch them on a Friday night game against Garrett Cole and they win 5-2. Like that's just how the Rays are. It's unbelievable.
I'm with you. And so I don't love watching the Brewers with this version of Yelich, though he's showing us flashes, but I can get behind Rowdy Tellez and Willy Adames. Like realistically, outside of a couple guys on that Rays team, I love McClanahan's scheduled watch, but other than that, yeah, I'd go with the Rays as the least exciting good team out there.
I don't know, man. It's kind of fun watching Ryan Yarbrough chuck 86 on the corners. Okay. Here. All right. Now we're breaking over to the positive side, but the next question might be a bit negative, but we'll see. We'll see what your answer is looking like. So the third question is, who is the team that once healthy you see soaring up the ranks? Asked by Lil DJ 228 on Twitter. It's an interesting question because a lot of teams are going through it a little bit, and it's funny. The team that will get healthy and soar up the ranks might be the Dodgers when they get fully healthy, which is hilarious because they aren't fully healthy right now. But my team, and Darius is going to love this because I know what he's fishing for. He wants me to talk about his San Francisco Giants. And I agree with him. I think the San Francisco Giants, when healthy, will soar up these rankings. No Brandon Belt sucks right now. No Steven Duggar, no Austin Slater, no Lamont Wade. Anthony Desclafani has been on the shelf. Matthew Boyd has not made his first appearance, and Darren Ruff is currently on the bereavement list. So right now, when you look at the Giants roster, it looks pretty depleted, and especially against the Phillies, but they've battled with the Phillies, even with not a lot of guys. This roster, without those four hitters and those two pitchers, looks a lot less. I think the Giants are the team. Who's the team in the AL that you see really, once they get healthy, soaring up?
Yeah. So I go White Sox, but I'm nervous that they might never get healthy. I every time I think they're about to be on the mend, someone else goes down, and it's really weird. And now, Tim Anderson, goes down with a groin injury, and you know how much those can nag you. I think he could be out for a long time. Eloy Jimenez just re-aggravated his injury on his rehab assignment in the minors. Lance Lynn is now, working back. He's in AAA. That's going to be a massive boost for them. Joe Kelly being back and healthy will be a huge boost for them. Yohan Moncada's in and out, just hasn't been right. And of course, Garrett Crochet is going to be out for the season. So I look at the rest of the team. I do feel like when they get, hopefully, Luis Robert consistently playing, when they get Tim Anderson back, when they get Pollock in the lineup fully and Vaughn consistently playing again too, I still think that this White Sox team is nuts. I mean, like, they're so good. And the fact that Johnny Cueto is giving them innings, they finally decided to part ways with Dallas Keuchel, which I think was the right move. Adding Lance Lynn to this rotation could make it really, really good. And I think that, the bats are going to start to trickle in. I still like the White Sox to put some pressure on the Twins when we get to the second half. It should be pretty fun to watch. But heck, the Twins haven't even been healthy themselves either. And the Twins continue to be banged up as well. So it could be just a battle of attrition between those two teams, and whoever stays healthiest wins. And right now, I think the Twins have the best shot to stay healthy. But are you going to bet on Correa and Buxton staying healthy and Royce Lewis? It's kind of scary too.
I'd rather bet on the White Sox, but I agree. It's going to be a down to the wire type finish. And I have a big future on the Chicago White Sox to win the division. So if they lose, that one could hurt my bank account, but it's not gambling advice, so who cares? The last team I want to talk about is the New York Mets, because the New York Mets, certainly when they get healthy, are going to be much better. Jacob deGrom, we know the full story. Tyler McGill, is still out. Max Scherzer's still out. Even a guy like Joey Lucchesi, you could probably use him. Probably not. But might be more worried about James McCann. Then again, you might not be. But he had handmade surgery on that bone in your hand. I don't know. Did he have surgery? I'm looking on.
I think they take the hamate bone out. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, I saw that he had surgery because I'm looking right now on Fangraphs. It says surgery, but I don't think he's going to be out for that long.
No. So like the surgery, quote unquote. Only reason I know this is because Griffin went through this recently. They take the hamate bone out when it breaks, and then you don't really need it. It takes a little bit of time to get your grip strength back and everything. So I don't think it's like some crazy thing. It'll probably be 6 weeks, and then he'll start swinging again. It takes a while to get the feel back and break up the scar tissue, but it's not like James McCann's value really comes with the bat anyways. He's going to give you value with the glove always, and whatever you get with the bat's a bonus. And I think they're definitely feeling it without him. I don't think Patrick Mazeika and Tomas Nido are the guys that are, really going to be who you count on behind the dish. At the end of the day, McCann is, a veteran who pitchers like working with. But with the Mets, at the end, it boils down to this. You have 2 Hall of Fame pitchers who are unavailable.
3. Tyler McGill.
Tyler McGill too.
No,
hey,
I actually
Hall of Famers.
Everyone who was in my DMs like Cylor McGill, and like I bought into it because of all the hype that was like in my mentions. It was like, man, like, is he that good? I see him throwing hard, and I do believe in him. I really do. But then I saw the velocity start to leave, and then I'm like, okay, that was the guy. Like, Mets fans, stop jumping
maybe
at
it was
me
the
over
injury.
him.
Maybe it was the injury,
Could be.
What if he comes back and he's chucking 100 again? And the Mets look pretty scary. So hopefully it was just the injury, and we'll see what McGill looks like.
But I do believe that the Mets are going to be down. I do still think that the Mets can win this division, especially because the Braves just don't look like themselves. Sure. They're rocking the highest strikeout rate in all of baseball right now as an offense.
They just brought up a dude from Double A, and granted, Michael Harris is as advanced as it gets from a guy in Double A, and is the perfect prototype to fit right into the big leagues. But if you're bringing a dude up from Double A, I think desperation is a strong word, but a high level of urgency is being felt by the Braves because, look, I know it's early in the season, but once you start getting into double-digit games back, and they're 9.5 back from the Mets as the time we're recording this, it gets real tough, and it's starting to get to that range for the Braves. So I think they're feeling it.
I think they're absolutely feeling it. Fourth question is a very interesting one because I want to throw it over to you. You're already smiling because you already know it. Is Nolan Gorman the answer to the Cardinals' success? Cy.Ingersoll on IG. Before you get into it, of course not. I mean, of course not. It could be any prospect. He's not going to be the answer to the team's success. They need to improve in the starting pitching. Overall, does he give him a little bit more power? Absolutely. Does he give him some positional versatility? Absolutely. But a rookie, unless it's a generational type prospect, is never going to be, and to quote, the answer to anyone's success. Doesn't mean that Nolan Gorman is a bad player at all. Just means there's almost nobody who will be instrumental and the answer as a prospect. Like even a Juan Soto, as a young prospect, he helped them win a World Series, but like that's what it is. It has to be a guy like Juan Soto or Tatis, like those type of players. And Nolan Gorman is not that type of player.
No, and like the first thought I had was like even a Bobby Witt. Like if you brought up Bobby Witt, he wouldn't have been helping you until now. So I think Gorman's going to help them in spots. Again, like I've been hard on Gorman because I'm hard on him in terms of being ready to help a team every day. But they've been putting him in spots to succeed, and he's been succeeding out of the gate. He's struck out 10 times in 36 plate appearances, but he's hit 387 with an 1150 OPS. He's going to give you a ton of power. I think he injects life into the lineup, which is huge. But, were we that worried about the offense? Like, yes, they could have used that jolt because Tyler O'Neill hasn't been great. Dylan Carlson hasn't been great. Harrison Bader hasn't been great. But I agree with you, Peter. Until they get a little bit more reinforcement in the starting pitching department, I don't think that they can really feel great about, Nolan Gorman making a difference. I think a Matthew Liberatore, even though Gorman, I think long-term will be the better player, I think Matthew Liberatore could make more of a difference for them this year, given what they need, because I really think the lineup will come together. And when you're getting what you're getting, I know Arenado's slowed down, but Tyler O'Neill's not having a 552 OPS at the end of the season. It's not happening.
And Tommy Edman is the fucking truth.
Yes.
And I said fucking because he's the fucking truth, dude.
He's like awesome.
The exit velos are great. His defense is unmatched. It seems like the fact that he can move over from second base to shortstop so effortlessly, and he's got real bat to ball skills. Tommy Edman is turning into one of my favorite players to watch on the Cardinals. And Juan Yepes rakes. I will say that until the day I die.
And that's the thing too, is like Yepes is kind of giving you what you're hoping to get from Gorman. So, it's not like it's this irreplaceable production that you're getting from Gorman. Whereas, Edman's stealing bases, playing elite defense, bat to ball, like you mentioned, sneaky power, doing all the little things. Gorman's it's all or nothing, right? He's going to hit you the big home runs or he's going to strike out, and he's not going to give you much more value in any other department. Great boost for them right now, but I don't think he's a needle mover like some other players could be for them in terms of the pitching department.
That makes sense. And Paul Goldschmidt is a legit MVP candidate right now. The fact that he's one of the greatest hitters against left-handed pitching, at least so far this season, maybe in the history of baseball. I think he's got like a 515 batting average against lefties right now. It's unreal. And everybody wants to hear us talk about Juan Soto because his name has been, speculated to be possibly traded. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Loop before we talk about Juan Soto, because I know everybody's going to want to hear about the Juan Soto trade proposals. But if you click the link in our episode description, you get a free $20 to download the Loop app, which we are doing live streams on. We are doing giveaways on. And that's just what we're doing on it. That doesn't count what you can do on Loop, which is you can break cards. Sellers are doing box breaks all over the Loop app. You can join in, hear them talk about it. It's not just baseball. You can do any sport as well. And if you use the link in our episode description, you get a free $20 free pack on us, maybe even two, depending on what type of packs you're buying. And Arm, I know they got some big pulls again.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the crazy thing is across every sport, they're always pulling some crazy stuff. And we actually had some good pulls on the wild card stream. You pulled, what'd you pull? Dustin Harris
out of 250, not too bad, around $150 card. I'll take that.
And I got an Oscar Colas out of 299, which is White Sox prospect. He rakes. He rakes. So I'm pumped on that. I just put out an article of the most underrated prospects in the set, because everyone's chasing Khalil Watson, everyone's chasing Ellie De La Cruz and all those names. And I mentioned Dustin Harris because he is super exciting. 2020 guy last year, starting to get hot in Double-A. I also mentioned Lenyn Sosa, and that's the number one guy I wanted to mention. And I'm seeing a lot of people pull him. I got a lot of DMs like, I pulled Lenyn Sosa. What should I do? I was like, hold it. Lenyn Sosa is a White Sox prospect. He's playing out of his mind this year. Jack used his $20 credit and pulled just a base card, but pulled a Lenyn Sosa base card, which I know he was pumped on, but I saw some people pulling autographs on that. And then the crazy thing about it is You also have people ripping like F1 packs on there, which is, I didn't even know they had F1 packs, UFC, and pulling super rare, super valuable cards there. So even if you want to dip into something else, you can use a $20 credit to go try and pull. I know somebody recently pulled, I want to say Leonard Hamilton. What's the Hamilton, the F1 driver?
Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton.
Is that it?
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton. One
Someone
of the
pulled
great
a
F1
super
drivers
rare
ever.
Lewis Hamilton card that's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. So you could even dabble in F1 if you want to on the Loop app. And we also did a live stream on there, and hopefully we'll be doing some more of those in the future, where I was just hanging out with Griffin Conine, Zach McCambley, 2 prospects in the Marlin system. Jazz Chisholm joined in, but it was just a Q&A, and that was super fun too. So if you want to download the Loop app to just also be able to hang out with us and talk. I know I also hopped on the wild card stream and was talking prospects on there too. It's a fun kind of interactive, almost like you talk about Twitch meets the cards. I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, I just watch other people spend money. And I watch other people, rip cards and see what they pull. So you can watch us do that. And you can also watch us just chop it up with prospects on there. So you might as well download the app, get your $20 credit. And you also will be able to hang out with us too if you use that link in the description.
So use the link in the description or use the code JustBaseball. Make sure you're clicking it from the episode description. Let them know that we sent you. So Arm, it's time. It's the time to speculate a rumor that will not happen because Juan Soto will not be traded, but it is fun to just answer the question because everybody wants to know, and it's probably the most asked topic right now in baseball. When is Juan Soto coming to my team? And I don't want to give up anybody that I really like, but I do really want him. Yeah. So let's talk about what it could take. If the Nationals trade Juan Soto, what haul of prospects would they get and what teams have the capability of pulling it off? Asked by Toby Fox 24 on Instagram, but it was also asked by about 4 other people, but that was the first one that I grabbed.
Really?
Yeah, everyone wants to know about Juan Soto. I mean, it's clear his name gets brought up, and it's like, when is he coming to my team? So, Blue Jays fans, I'd like to say that he could probably go to your team because that's the number 1 team in my mentions that are like, he's coming to the Blue Jays. He's coming to the Blue Jays. But here's what you're going to have to give up, Blue Jays fans. You're going to have to give up Alek Manoah. You're going to have to give up Gabriel Moreno. You're going to have to give up Orelvis Martinez. And I think you're going to have to give up 2 more guys. Aram, what do you think about that? Do you think the Blue Jays could do it realistically if they want to give up their entire team?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Gabriel Moreno is a top 10 prospect in baseball. You could do that. Or Orelvis Martinez is a top 50 prospect in baseball. It's a good start. You're still not even close, like you said. So you start with those 2 guys. You're, like you said, you're probably gonna have to trade Alek Manoah as well. And at that point, do you still want to do it? I mean, probably.
And then you have to give up more. That's the thing. It doesn't end there either.
Throw Groshans in there. I think at that point, maybe like Manoah is one of the more valuable young pitchers in the game. So you got Manoah, Moreno, Martinez, Groshans, and maybe you even have to add like a Ricky Tiedemann, who's an up and coming guy I really like. I think you do whatever you need to do to get a Juan Soto, but you have to ask yourself at that point, like, are we giving up too much in every other area at that point? Like, is it really worth it? Because now who slots into the rotation? And I know it's Juan freaking Soto, but you're like depleting your team. And if you're still shy, like Juan Soto is going to help you big time. Obviously he's generational, but if you still need to make more moves to win a World Series, how are you going to get there? Because now you just depleted yourself of every asset you have. It's tough. I don't really see how a team can do it and then still be in a position unless it's the Dodgers. The Yankees, if they want to trade Volpe, but I don't know if they even want to do that.
That's the funny thing. I think the Yankees and the Dodgers are the team that would do it. I mean, you go to the Mariners could do it, but do they want to? I mean, they might. I mean, what would a trade from the Mariners look like from them?
Oh my gosh.
Because it'd be George Kirby, be Matt Brash.
Like, could you get it done without J-Rod? I don't know.
You couldn't get it done without J-Rod.
What's Kelenich's value now? Like that's
would they take those Kelenic in a deal? Would they take those pitchers then get Noel V. Marte and Kelenic? Probably not. Like, you'd have to headline it with J-Rod.
Yep.
You might have to trade them Ty France.
No,
they wouldn't have to, but it'd probably be J-Rod, it'd probably be Kirby, it'd probably be Brash, it'd probably be Noel V. Marte, and it would probably be another big league piece. Like, maybe Kelenic too.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
Crazy.
is it really like you're going all in on one human being? I just, to me, I don't tend to think that, you know, unless it's one of those situations where the value is not to the degree of Soto's. Like, you'll give Miguel Cabrera that package, that was still at the time a haul, and it worked in the Tigers' favor, but his value wasn't nearly what Juan Soto's is now in terms of control and things like that. I just think where it's at, there's almost no way that you can win, because the market value, quote unquote, for Juan Soto is going to be in a place where it's almost impossible to come out on top unless Juan Soto is the one piece you're missing and you have endless prospects, which I think the Dodgers fit that mold. And you start with Bellinger and then just throw in, every one of your top prospects. That's the only team that I think it could still make sense. You go Diego Cartaya, you go Bobby Miller, you go Andy Pages and Miguel Vargas with a Bellinger. Maybe you could pull that off and the Dodgers would still have an okay system, which is disgusting to think about.
And that's the crazy, because I feel like people asking this question, it's not Yankees or Dodger fans asking for Juan Soto. It's how can Juan Soto come to my team? That's not the Yankees or the Dodgers. But I kind of do think the Yankees and the Dodgers are hypothetical front runners. He's not getting traded just because the Yankees have a need in the outfield currently, with Aaron Hicks not being real and Joey Gallo being even worse. And then the Dodgers could possibly use him as well if they're going to get rid of Cody Bellinger. And then they have all the prospects. I mean, the Yankees could really, they could give Volpe, Peraza, Pereira, Oswaldo. They could really make a package and maybe centered around Glaber or something.
Yep.
And then the Dodgers, the same thing, package centered around Bellinger, and then give them 4 of your top prospects. That realistically could get it done. But then again, it won't happen. I really don't think he's getting traded unless something crazy happens.
And here's the last thing I'll say on it is, optically, you making this trade as a GM is almost like lighting the match to the gasoline trail that could eventually lead to your firing. Because if you make this trade and you don't win a World Series within 2 years, you can't. You just mortgage the whole future, like everything, every asset you have for Juan Soto. And if you're not positive that the rest of your team is built to win, they're firing your ass. Like, and is any GM willing to take that risk? Maybe AJ Preller, and he doesn't have enough to make it happen.
Shit.
So yeah, Dave Dombrowski, he can't do it either.
Arm, so, I think that was the best point of the pod so far. I mean, think about it just mentally as the GM. If it doesn't go amazingly perfect 100%,
you have to win a World Series.
You're fired.
And
you traded away Ted Williams.
Much out of your control. There's so much out of your control. Juan Soto doesn't just make you win a World Series. He hits 4 times a game and he plays, okay defense. Not even. So
in a corner.
To me, it's like, I'm not making that deal unless it's a Mookie Betts situation, or you can, pull off a Miguel Cabrera type of package. But for what the package would be right now, you're putting yourself in a position to get fired. And I don't think any GM is willing to take that risk.
And let's keep our trade hats on for the next question. A player that is more likely to be dealt, not totally sold on him getting dealt yet, because, we never know what's going to happen with the Red Sox. Aside from St. Louis, what are some realistic trade destinations for Xander Bogaerts if the Red Sox decide to trade him? Funny enough, I don't think it's going to be St. Louis. Because if St. Louis does not want to get rid of Gorman, Liberator, or Jordan Walker, I don't see how they get Xander Bogaerts. And that's all that we've heard, that they are locked on those 3 guys. So I just don't think that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really see how they do it. And, I don't even know if they need to necessarily do it, because I like what they have going on there. And I think Edman could ultimately be the shortstop. I think they really do believe in Gorman long-term. So, why put all the money at shortstop? Because if you trade for Bogaerts, you're presumably extending him. If you're trading for him as a rental, then maybe it makes sense. But I would rather see them put that money towards starting pitching. And I think that the Cardinals feel the same way. And Jordan Walker could be up there before you know it too. And at that point, where's he going to play? Because it's not going to be the hot corner where one of the best defensive third basemen of all time is. So, they have a little bit of a crowded infield situation. It makes sense in theory, but I'm with you, Peter. I don't necessarily think that they are the best fit. I wonder, and Dansby Swanson is starting to play really well. I wonder if the Braves would mess around and make that splash if Swanson struggles, or if Swanson starts playing so well that, he starts to command a bag potentially, that they'd say, hey, and getting in that price range, I'd rather maybe just get more bang for my buck with a Xander Bogaerts. I look at the Phillies maybe, but they would really be stretched thin to make that package work. And then, I'm obviously gonna throw the Marlins into the hat here, just because, look, I'm not convinced that they would extend him, because I'm not convinced ever that they're ever going to spend money. But the Marlins are desperate. The Marlins have prospects, and they don't really have a shortstop that looks like he's going to be taken over anytime soon. Jazz Chisholm seems to be settled in the second. Miguel Rojas is, aging. That could make sense. I mean, it's close to home for Xander, who grew up in Curacao, if I'm not mistaken. That's the only other team that I see is like desperate for a shortstop. A lot of teams are pretty good in that regard, right? Like a good team out there has a good shortstop.
I've one you're forgetting about. This team, if they got Xander Bogaerts, would take them over the top, at least offensively. The Los Angeles Angels. Ooh. Andrew Velazquez is currently their shortstop right now, and he's a phenomenal defender. But I think when push comes to shove, Andrew Velazquez will not be the starting shortstop for a playoff caliber team. No disrespect at all to Andrew Velazquez. Still a solid player. Works better as a guy who you can place around in the infield and really get the most out of his defense. Because what also Xander Bogaerts does for the Angels is give them an incredible separator between Ohtani and Trout as well in the lineup. Plus, with Rendon continuing to deal with injuries, could Xander possibly move over to third, and you allow Rendon to have more of a DH role? Just let him get his legs up from under him, so he just doesn't have to deal with playing the field. I could see that being the move, and then you could use the DH also to give to Xander, because Xander's not that great of a defender. But maybe the move over to third could make sense if you really love Andrew Velazquez. I think Xander Bogaerts to the Angels could take them from a team that's competing with the Astros to maybe even better than the Astros.
And what's interesting too is, they have the challenge of Ohtani as well at the DH spot, but I'm encouraged with what we've seen from Rendon as of late. Like, he's starting to heat up, and if that inspires them to say like, hey, let's get one more bat in here, another guy that doesn't swing and miss, right? Like that's the thing, is Trout is Trout, but Ohtani K's, there's when you have Rendon struggling, sometimes he's inconsistent. Like, you're getting a consistent bat. No, Rendon doesn't K a lot, but he's, hot and cold as of the last couple of years. Xander, you know what you're getting. And that's pretty exciting. The other thing with the Angels,
their biggest issue is middle infield depth.
Their pitching's coming together. Like, who would have thought? And crazy enough, man, if you listen to the call up on Friday, we were talking to Zach McCambley and Griffin Conine, who are in AA South. And I was like, last year, nobody wanted to face the Montgomery Biscuits because that's the Rays AA. And Griffin was like, that's 6 straight days of misery, because it's just Rays pitching prospects, 98 up with high spin and a hammer. And he's like, it was 6 days of misery. It's like, it's not as bad this year. You know who's 6 days of misery right now? The Trash Pandas, which is AA for the Angels, because guess what? They've drafted nothing but pitchers for the last 2 years. And we're seeing guys like Silseth get bumped up. We're seeing Kai Bush start to shove. We're seeing all these dudes pitch. I think they're okay with making a move. I think they might trade some dudes.
If not now, when? Angels, come on, they're finally doing it. It's so exciting. They deserve it. It's been years of shit, and now they're back, and they got the pitching in the minor leagues coming up. They make a trade for Xander Bogaerts. We could see Mike Trout in the World Series, maybe. Probably not, but we'll see.
Playoffs. Man, just give me a playoffs. Just give me like multiple playoff series, and I'll be over the moon. I just want to see Mike Trout in big situations.
And here's another team who should make the playoffs, but they got to make some moves. What should the priority be for the Blue Jays at the deadline? Do they need a lefty bat? Do they need swing and miss out of the pen? I will say, first off, yes, bullpen has got to be number one priority. Adding a lefty bat would be nice. They did that with Corey Dickerson, if I'm not mistaken, last year, and that basically did nothing. You need bullpen help. Jordan Romano is a great reliever, but he has had his blow-up starts. And Julian Merriweather, as much as I love the talent, I mean, the guy just gets injured and, gets sent back down. It's a lot of things that he's dealing with right now. And Adam Simber is a good arm, but Like they need, especially in a division where you have the Rays and the Yankees and all their bullpen talent. I mean, the Blue Jays ranked 19th in bullpen ERA, and they're down there in FIP. They're down there in XFIP as well. Bullpen has got to be the priority here.
And I like the point in the question almost made, which is swing and miss.
Yes.
Because I like their middle relief arms. A lot of former Marlins guys that I've seen, like Yimi Garcia, fine middle reliever. Trevor Richards, fine swing man. You know,
he's
like
good.
He's
all right.
These are good guys to have in your stable.
Yes.
But these aren't guys that you're putting in with a runner on third and one out and saying,
yes,
you know, Adam Simber, strike this guy out. You know, like that's a guy you're putting in the sixth to go 1, 2, 3, get some ground balls and get out of it. Or, you know, Jordan Romano is really the only guy that is averaging any impressive strikeout rate at this point. And I think they've got to go get that swing and miss guy. No doubt about it. I was going to say my answer to this question was just yes, because I think they need both. Ryan Tapia stinks.
Yeah.
Certifiably stinks. I hate to say it. Kevin Biggio it's just not going to happen in Toronto. They don't have a lefty bat. So that definitely matters, but I think you can get away with not having a lefty bat, you know, if you have guys that are pretty balanced with the lineup, and this lineup is so good.
Yeah.
So I like, is Teoscar Hernandez going to hit 170 the whole year?
No
way. So like, I think they'll be fine offensively. I think you got to prioritize the bullpen and go get a good bullpen arm. And ironically, I think they need a lefty arm out of the pen too. So
exactly.
They need a lefty thrower and a lefty hitter. I would prioritize bullpen, but I'd say it's pretty close. I think they need both pretty badly.
Are you still fully in the belief that the Blue Jays are like a playoff team that you're buying in? Because with how good the Yankees and the Rays are, and then with how, we assume that the White Sox are going to come back, and then how good the Angels could be, there just might not be enough room in the regular season for them to make it.
I was going to say, in a vacuum, they're a playoff caliber team.
Exactly. No debate there.
But as you said, their division is tough. And if you just kind of go by the playoff spots, there's only so many spots. If Vladimir Guerrero is not hitting the way he hit last year, it's going to be hard for them. And it's pretty surprising. Lourdes Gurriel's struggling. Matt Chapman's struggling. Bo Bichette is refusing to walk. They're going to need to call up Gabriel Moreno, I think sometime soon. And they need to inject some life into this team. I think that it's getting to the point now where I could easily see them missing the playoffs, which is very surprising to say, because even through this point, their pitching has been as good as you could really hope. Aside from Jose Barrios, Kikuchi's been solid. Gausman's been phenomenal. Manoah's been a joke in terms of being just so damn good.
He's like one of the best pitchers in baseball right now.
Yeah, like their starting pitching's been great outside of Barrios. What more could you ask for? The offense, I think, will be better, but it might be too little too late.
Also, this was a take that I was perpetuating throughout TikTok. And I thought you agreed with at the time. I remember we spoke about it, and that's what kind of gave me the confidence to really be like, yeah, I truly believe this. Because when you had my back, I was like, yeah, like this is going to happen. That Alek Manoah is the best pitcher on the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
That I was saying this at the beginning of the year, that Barrios is nice, and Gausman's going to be great. He's not going to be, San Francisco Gausman, but he has been San Francisco Gausman. And I thought Barrios was the easy 3 to Manoah's 1. Right now, we've seen Manoah and Gausman be like 1A and 1B, but then Barrios has been dropping off. I think it's just how confident we were in Alek Manoah and how the confidence on Barrios was draining.
100%, dude. I'm all in. He's 24.
He's so good.
So you want a crazy stat here? 112 innings between Gausman and Manoah this year. 14 walks combined between the two of them.
They're disgusting. They're phenomenal.
That's what could get, like, if I think the big X factor, if they're not going to, hit the way we think they can, Barrios better step it up. They're going to have to pitch their way. They're going to have to pitch their way there. That 2 out of 5 days, you are going to have the advantage almost every single time with Gausman and Manoah. Kikuchi's never going to screw you, I don't think. Like, I think he looks pretty darn good.
He does.
Barrios and Ryu, like, can you just tread water? Because the offense is not picking up its weight right now, and the pitching needs to do what it needs to do.
That's the problem. If the offense isn't humming, and then it's a 2-2 ball game when Kevin Gausman just gave you 7 and then the bullpen blows it, you're blowing it. Like, those are the wins you need.
They're not excelling anywhere right now. And that's the problem, 100%. But you know what? I think at the same time, would you be surprised if they caught fire and went nuts? No, but I am
Not even
definitely
slightly.
feeling the least optimistic I've felt about them thus far.
I agree. I'm feeling the same way. So we have Arm Layton on, prospect guru. And so what we got to do is do the prospect report. It's a little bit of a lighter prospect report, but so please leave because we kind of talked about Nolan Gorman, but he's not a prospect anymore. So make sure to leave your prospect questions on the mailbag episode, again, on Twitter at JustBBMedia or on our Instagram at JustBaseballShow. So we got a couple guys here. What are your thoughts on Francisco Alvarez, the catcher for the New York Mets, who is a definitive top 5 prospect in all of baseball now that the like a lot of guys like Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr. and Julio Rodriguez, all of them have graduated. Francisco Alvarez is right in the thick of it. And Colt Keith, who I'll be completely honest with you, Arm, I don't know who that is. So I decided to add him. But a lot of people are going to know who Francisco Alvarez is. Let's talk about him and then talk about Colt Keith.
So one of my favorite things that you've ever said was when we went to the Futures game and you said Francisco Alvarez looks like he has pads under his jersey, because he legitimately does.
He looks like he's wearing catcher's gear under his uniform.
It's legitimately, he looks like a linebacker. And the craziest part is he moves so well. And everyone knows who Francisco Alvarez is. So like the angle I'm going to really take here is that he is playing against guys that are way more advanced, way older, and he is still holding his own. Every time I think he's going to start slumping, he breaks out of it. Every time he has a bad game, he bounces back with a good one. And that's so encouraging for a 20-year-old in AA. He's only striking out 25% of the time, which is, to me, extremely low, given that he's hitting for the power that he's hitting for. He walks. The defense keeps getting better. Not only is he a definitive top 5 prospect, Peter, he's got a serious case to be our number 1 prospect in the midseason update, depending on who officially graduates.
I'm all in. The sound of bat on ball at 19, 20 years old.
You saw that ball, that laser beam he hit. I mean, like,
dude, I was visibly shook. I look over to you in the stand. I'm like eyes. Whoa, like, whoa. Now, I mean, guys, you know, we saw Shane Baz, we saw Cade Cavalli, we saw a ton of these guys, but Francisco Alvarez was the most impressive player from that Futures game. I'll stand on that. I think he was.
I agree. And I think, he's backing that up again to do what you're doing. If you're Francisco Alvarez at 20 years old, to walk, keep the Ks in check, homer, impressive defense. He's also mixing in the doubles. This guy, he could be up by next year, which early next year, which is crazy. And, it's been so fun to just watch this guy play. And then a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, like you mentioned. I mean, not a lot of people know who Colt Keith is. And I literally have my notes on him up here right now because I wrote up the Tiger system last year, and Colt Keith didn't have a great year last year. He was really good in low A, then hit the wall in high A as a high school guy. But he has really put it together, and still only 20 years old. Now getting his second look at high A has been insane. He's hitting 298, 364, 512 with 6 homers. And with Keith, he was always a bat to ball guy. And this is the profile I always love. If you're a great bat to ball guy and then you develop into power, and now, that bat to ball is those doubles are turning into homers, I'm all in. And right now he's striking out less than 20% of the time. So the bat to ball hasn't taken a hit, and he's hitting way more homers. He had 2 home runs in 62 games last year. He already has 6 home runs in 41 games this year. So he's added physicality and he's striking out less. Like, what else do you need to see from a guy to be excited about him? So Tigers fans, you should be very excited about Colt Keith. Overslot guy in the 2020 draft in the 5th round as a high school dude, could end up being a great steal in that draft. And overall, a pretty good draft for the Tigers that year.
And we end it with a great question. It really is a great question here. I can only be the fan of one team for the next 15 years. Which team has the highest upside? And we were only given 4 teams to choose from, which is the Rangers, the Reds, the Pirates, or the Royals, asked by Chris_PR_13 on Twitter. This is a tough one. I want to throw it to you first because you have a better gauge on their systems. But off the cut, I had an answer, but I want to see if it makes sense with yours.
Yeah, I love that we don't know what the other is going to say when we answer these. I am going with the Pirates. I think the Pirates, Ben Cherington's done an unbelievable job. You look at the big league roster, there's some pieces there. You got Ke'Bryan Hayes, who is, looking phenomenal at third. I'd like to see a little bit more power, but elite defender, and he's hitting the ball. Roansy Contreras is now up there and throwing. You have guys like Jack Sawinski emerging, but Brian Reynolds, I know he's struggling. He's still an all-star. And then the system is crazy. You look at the system, O'Neal Cruz, though he's not playing the way you would hope, he looks a little uninspired in AAA. One of the most insane raw power guys we've seen. Henry Davis is outrageous, number 1 overall pick in this past draft. Liover Peguero has been great. Nick Gonzalez, I love. Andy Rodriguez is great. Like, their system is stupid, and they've got some young talent already up in the big leagues. Sign me up for the Pirates. I'm a little bit nervous about the pitching. I think they could definitely use a little bit more pitching. But when you look at the rest of these teams, they all have pretty much similar questions and concerns, and the Pirates are the deepest.
Sign me up for the frickin' Pittsburgh Pirates. And everything you said is exactly correct. It's one of the big reasons why I love their system. But, our guy Ryan Miller talks about it, the host of the Boys of Spring podcast, covering all things college baseball. And we have some more college baseball content coming for you later on the Just Baseball show, so stay tuned for that later in the week. But, he's a big Pirates guy, and he's been Ben Cherington's biggest cheerleader. And he's right, because Pirates really have revamped the way they evaluate players. They've revamped their the way they develop the players as well in-house, the training regimens. I remember when Dustin was going through his draft process when he was in high school, we talk about it, and all we heard was how, man, it is tough to be in the Pirates system.
Yeah.
They work you like a dog. They don't have a lot of the technology that other teams do. And then Ben Cherington came in, and he really revamped this. And I believe in the Pirates. Even a guy like O'Neal Cruz, who's their tippity top prospect, even if he doesn't work out, they have so much depth in the system. They have so many young pitchers coming up the pipe. And again, they're going to have another good draft pick again for the next couple of years, because they're still a ways away. But when I look at those 4 teams, and I'll pull them back up again, it was the Reds, the Rangers, or the Royals. I lean Pirates.
Yeah, I look at the Rangers. Their system is much improved, but still they don't have the talent at the big league level. Yes, they have the middle infield situation, but Marcus Semien is scary.
They have $500 million tied up in that.
Yeah, tied up, and the team still stinks. John Gray's looking a little scary too. Like, they still have so many pieces that they need to fulfill. And to your point about the development, you're seeing guys like Cal Mitchell take the leap. And now Cal Mitchell is looking like a potential big league piece. Diego Castillo has been up there. We'll see what he can do. Like, they're also turning decent players into potential above average regulars. And then they have the superstar prospects. If O'Neal doesn't work out, Liover Peguero looks great at short. Like, they've got a lot of irons in the fire, and I feel safer there. The Royals, they've got a lot of young, exciting offense. And I think they're probably number 2. I would go with them, but the pitching, man, Jack's watching Jackson Kowar pitch, and he's also watching Chris Bubich pitch. He shouldn't be watching those guys. Jack works in AAA. Great job. He's going to be the big soon. But those guys shouldn't be in AAA. Jack should be calling games with guys that.
You're so right.
It's
You're
just
so right.
So Kowar, I'm losing hope on him. Bubich, I'm losing hope. Lynch just has never quite put it together, though this is the best form we've seen. What does the Royals pitching situation look like in the future? I don't know, Peter. So I think the Pirates are the most balanced. I have the most faith in them. Then I'd go Royals. Then I'd go Reds. Then I'd go Rangers. What's your order?
I just checked the box score of Guardians versus Royals, because I do have Guardians money line today. And Daniel Lynch, 4 innings pitch, 8 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Cal Quantrill on the other side, 5 innings pitch, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts.
That's such a Cal Quantrill line.
And no walks from Cal Quantrill.
Oh, that's
too.
good.
That's what we're talking about there too. But the Guardians are up 6-2. That's what my thinking is with the Royals. And maybe this is blasphemy, but would I take the Reds over the Royals? Seriously, probably not. But I'm thinking about it.
I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it's that crazy. I like what the Reds have done in terms of
my worry is Hunter Green. I just don't know what he is going to be, because if he came up and he was dominant, and then like Nick Lodolo came up and dominant, these are rookies. We shouldn't expect them to be great early, but to be really, really bad early, that's a little bit concerning. And then I look around, I do like some of the moves that they made, and I do believe that through the farm system that the Reds will be better, but the Royals have more upside, but I just don't believe in the Royals pitching at all. And when we're waiting on Bobby Witt Jr. and MJ Melendez, and those are the two guys, but then besides that, there's not a ton to love. That's why maybe I think you could side with Reds, but I think the Rangers are in fourth, unfortunately.
Yes, Rangers aren't, which is crazy because that's a team that spent $500 million.
I know. Well, because they're better right now. That's the best team right now. But if you're talking like what team should I root for the next 15 years? And when you have 10 years locked up at $500 million, you got Corey Seager for 10 and you got Semien for 7. I'm not going to choose that team in this exercise.
Yeah, I'm not trying to tie my hands behind my back when I have a freedom pick here.
Yeah.
Give me the Pirates, and I think we're on the same page there. Royals could surprise if a couple of the pitchers put it together. They could surprise, but they've given us no reason to believe that they're going to put it together with their pitchers. They just have not developed pitching for shit, really.
And we'll end it on with shit, really, from Arm with the Royals. So that'll do it for this episode, Wednesday's episode of the Just Baseball Show. Of course, we do a bi-weekly mailbag. So the next time you can ask your questions to be featured on the podcast, make sure you're following us on Twitter at JustBBMedia. Our guy, Ethan Badowski, is killing it, constantly putting out highlights. So not only will you be able to ask, but it's a fun Twitter account to follow. You also get updates on all of our different podcasts, like the Boys of Spring covering college baseball, State of the Division, which is 6 days a week, 15 minutes on each division in baseball. Arm's got the NL East, I got the AL East, and then we have all the rest of the Just Baseball writers and personalities sprinkled across all the divisions. We have Not Gambling Advice, which is my fantasy baseball / gambling podcast, hosted with Colby Olson, Arm Layton. He's hosting one with Jack McMullen, but it's mostly Arm's podcast talking prospects. But Jack's been on it a lot, which I love to see. I just love seeing you, hearing you guys go back and forth.
It's great to have him on, especially when we're talking like AAA guys he's seen. We went through the top 100 list, but that's been really fun. And then, of course, follow along on the Twitter so that you can see all the latest articles we have out. We have been churning out articles every single day, waiver wire pickups, deep dives into teams, anything you need to know. Any topics. Like, we're spending a lot of time trying to cover every team, every topic in depth and keep you informed and give you the most entertaining baseball coverage. It's been cool to see the website really just continue to grow and tick up traffic wise. And also, one last reminder to click that loop link in the description and download that app.
Absolutely. And we just hit 125,000 followers on TikTok. Great plaque, put on the board. You got 125,000 followers or whatever. But really, we love making TikTok content, Instagram content, Twitter content, website, podcasts. And again, if you are watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed. And with that, thank you, everybody.